Hi there. Today's lesson is on Section 1 of the Charter, the Oakes Test. The idea is that we're balancing individual rights versus group goals. So these individual rights, the freedom to do this, the right to do that, are all listed in the Charter. And every individual Canadian citizen has these rights. On the other hand, you have all these limits. Every single law is a limit on those rights. The Environmental Protection Act, the Family Law Act, the Labour Law Act, the Criminal Code. Basically, the law says no, 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 or you can't go past this. So you have all these rights and freedoms saying yes, you can, and these limits, these laws, saying no, you can't. Now, the rights are individual, and the laws are a group. And at the same time, we are individuals who have to be subject to these laws. We're also part of the group making these laws, telling individuals what they can and cannot do. So Section 1 in the Charter is sort of an instruction to the courts, to the judges, on how to balance these individual rights versus group goals. And what they have to do, whereas the rest of the Charter, 2 onwards, are listed all the rights and freedoms. So Section 1 is how should the courts do this? And what's happened with the Oakes Test is they've come up with a proportionality test, like who should win, the individual or the law. And so this is sort of like a reasonable limit. So yes, you have a freedom of speech, for example, but a reasonable limit on that is that you couldn't yell fire in a movie theater and have everyone get trampled and say, oh, I just like, yelling fire in a movie theater. No, your freedom of speech is limited. You can't go past that. Or, for example, you hate speech or uttering death threats. Those are in the Criminal Code. So those are limits, reasonable limits to freedom of speech. And so the person who's charged with the crime might come in with the Charter and say, oh, my right or freedom is being infringed. So the court has to employ the Section 1 Proportionality Oakes Test analysis to see, yes, if the right or freedom is being infringed, and is it reasonable, is it okay? So they employ a proportionality test. And so what they look at is, what is the government trying to do in this law? Are they trying to stop something that's important, something that's pressing, something substantial in society? Or is this law maybe arbitrary, not that important? Then, with the proportionality, there has to be a rational connection between what the government is trying to stop and what the law is doing. There has to be what they call minimal impairment, so the punishment or the sentence or what you get for breaking this law must be the least impairment to people if they're going to take away people's rights and freedoms. And it has to also have a proportional effect, meaning there must be some overall benefits for the group, for society, by having a law such as this that's going to take away this individual's right or freedom. So the Oakes Test is such an interesting thing to talk about in our society. And often when individual rights and group goals come in conflict, what comes up is the word harm. So is what the individual is doing harming other people? For example, as John Stuart Mill might say, the freedom to do what you want with your own body ends where your neighbor's nose begins. So if you actually, hit somebody. The gray area is maybe moral harm, is what you're doing, oh, that's naughty, that's so harmful, that's hurting our society. And you say, well, to the person who's claiming that, did it do anything to you? Oh, no. Did you read that book? Oh, I don't have to read that book. I know what it's got inside it. And so really it didn't hurt you at all. So there's this thing of physical harm versus moral harm, and that's interesting. So yeah, that'll be the Oakes Test, Section 1, Proportionality. Good luck.